For this edition of AAM Media Matters, I want to welcome Dennis Buchheim, founder of ThinkMedium, an advertising and media advisory firm and the creator of the recently released Publisher Readiness Playbook, a guide that helps publishers prepare for ongoing data and identity-related shifts. Dennis is also the former CEO of the IAB Tech Lab and has held leadership positions at Meta, Yahoo, and Microsoft. Welcome, Dennis.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
What are some common misconceptions publishers have about privacy regulations?
So I think the first is that it's part of the challenge here is about privacy regulations and laws on, of course, a global basis, certainly in the U.S. increasingly as well. But it goes beyond that. It's the platform policies in many ways that are having huge impacts, and that can be Google decisions on Chrome or Android. It can be what Apple's done with the app tracking transparency changes, what they've done with cookies. It can even now be in connected TV and device manufacturers and operating system providers. Secondly, I think we all have to get a little bit more nerdy with data than maybe we have historically, and think about what are the data inputs versus outputs. What do you need consent for before you actually start collecting data and start to have those inputs? And then when you work with another party, what's happening with the data you provide them as inputs? What are they doing to process it? What actually comes out the other side as outputs? Or maybe you're doing kind of the input processing and output work yourself. Those can do the inputs and outputs can be very, very different. And the inputs need to be in part at a detailed, person specific or household specific or somehow identified level to some degree, so that you can then kind of build what you need for targeting or measurement or other use cases.
You mentioned advertising use cases. How does defining advertising use cases set the foundation for assessing privacy readiness and influence the resulting strategies and tactics?
I think it starts with recognizing that different use cases are not affected in the same ways by privacy related changes. So targeting and planning and activation use cases are all quite different than measurement use cases, right? And then maybe a little bit back to what I said a moment ago, that it's much harder, for example, if you have aggregated output of data. It's arguably harder to use that for targeting purposes than it is for measurement, right? Measurement you can get a really strong signal from an aggregate of, here's what happened when I ran my campaign, right? Targeting a little bit harder, right? If you really want to reach a particular audience, the aggregation is not going to tell you exactly who to reach. So I think, considering that range of use cases from, targeting and planning and activation, measurement, attribution, distinctly is really helpful. And then deciding these are the use cases that are most important to me, and even like the sub use cases, we kind of outline a whole bunch of more specific use cases within our playbook. Deciding which of those are most important to you, and then focusing on, do I have the right data? Do I have the right partnerships? Do I have the right technologies in place to really be successful in those use cases?
What role do you think emerging technologies like AI will play in helping publishers navigate the new privacy and security landscape?
There, of course, had to be an AI question.
Yes, of course.
I think the not unsung but undersung application of AI and is actually on more the modeling side, increasingly going forward. That if you think about data availability being challenged, that means you've got to figure out targeting opportunities, measurement opportunities with less data input. You have to get smart, right, about aggregating and modeling different audiences, measuring different outcomes, and kind of projecting what worked and what didn't, and making decisions accordingly, and having that be a feedback loop for revenue optimization as a publisher, for ROAS optimization as a buyer, all of it, right? I think modeling is going to be hugely important, and that sort of loosely fits under the umbrella of AI. I do think Gen AI can play an increasing role in defining audiences, finding the audiences that actually could be interesting to you and extracting context and things like that, right? That are really helpful signals.